everyone is fighting their own fight. So let's try to see the world through other people's eyes. And one nice thing is that we have a pair of ears and just one mouth. So we should use it accordingly, listen more than we talk to actually try to understand the other person we're dealing
I feel like you have that on like a laminated card in your pocket somewhere. Just
with.
hello, everyone. My name is Lingo, and welcome to Educative Sessions, a podcast series about people in the developer world and their coding experiences. We are powered by Educative, which makes it easy for authors to provide interactive and adaptive courses for software developers. My guest today is Igor Packo, who is a software engineer at F5 Networks. And today we're going to talk about Igor's experiences as an immigrant to America and the struggles of actually getting a job with the kinds of policies and processes that exist. Igor, welcome to the show.
Thank you. How are
So,
you doing?
yeah, doing okay. So today, I want to talk about where are you actually from? I think that's a pretty good baseline to begin. And what was your inspiration to come out to the United States?
All right. So I'm originally from Slovakia, formerly known as Czechoslovakia for some people in, let's say, Eastern Europe. And what made me come to the US? After I finished college, I went for a little trip around the US with a friend of mine, and another friend of mine living in San Francisco introduced me to my now wife, Dawn. And yeah, basically by starting that relationship later, she came to live together in Europe, and then over time we decided it's time for us to move to the US and explore living here on the West Coast. So now I'm in Seattle and living the life here.
Wonderful, wonderful. And what inspired you to also get into a career in technology as well?
It's a good question. Well, I've been fairly close with technology since being a little kid. I always loved playing computer games, listening to music, even trying to create my own music. I tried to build a website. I got a book from library and tried to read about how to build your own website, how to write HTML. So I was always tinkering with computers. So it seemed like a natural path to follow, go to college and get more formally educated.
Hmm, hmm, hmm. But for today, you wanted to talk about even though getting into technology is a wonderful path towards upward mobility, you in particular experienced a lot of challenges, especially coming to the United States when it comes to job seeking or just getting acclimated. Let's dive in a little bit more into some of your experiences.
Right. There was a lot of obstacles on the way. That's for sure. Uh, First biggest one probably for anyone trying to come here is the whole visa situation or some kind of work permit. So, yeah, as I said, my wife is from the US. So we went through the fiance visa and the green card visa process. So that allowed me to be able to get a job and start working. But the whole process took probably almost 2 years and ton of nerves and paperwork and
Yeah,
struggle
yeah,
overall.
yeah. And it's definitely a challenging process. It could take a long time, even if you hire an attorney. There's so many variables beyond your control. But
Well,
what were your experiences like, even with a lot of that working out, uh, with applying for jobs themselves? You're a man from Slovakia, and with also a newfound skill set in coding. Did you find it easy, especially in a tech hub like Seattle, to find a job once you were out in the market?
yeah, that's a good question. Well, first problem was the physical one, just being able to enter the US. And yeah, your second question, how about what was next? So I guess honestly, I assumed searching for a job would be a little bit easier or maybe quicker,
Hmm.
since like I had a bunch of experience working in my own startup with a friend, working as an employee, working part-time during college, during working full-time. But still, despite all of that, I feel like, at least personally, I felt that I had to prove myself that my knowledge and my experience is still valuable because I'm not from the top US university, or maybe there's a language barrier, or yeah, I didn't work for a big name company. So
Hmm.
I personally felt at some interviews that maybe there was some bias.
Yeah, yeah. Which is an unfortunate but common thing when it comes to what a lot of these top companies are looking for. And what were some aspects of these processes that you found almost encouraging, perhaps? Like, were there a lot of companies that were a bit more open minded, and how did you kind of gauge them as well?
Hmm. Well, it all boils down to the communication, right?
Hmm.
The verbal and non-verbal communication, just how they treat you, how they make you feel.
Hmm.
So those were probably the largest signs of like, okay, I feel good around these people, and I can imagine working here. Or
Hmm.
I feel like I'm in a battlefield, and they're just trying to shut me down. So
Hmm.
I was
Hmm.
trying to find a balance in between those
Right.
two things.
Were there any particular indicators that you discovered through your process that you know now to perhaps avoid, or perhaps to at least look out for when it comes to looking for the company that was right for you?
Definitely asking the employees about their day-to-day life, like
Hmm.
see what the company culture is, what is the standard hours, if some crazy deadlines and crunch times are common or not really that common, and looking for these quality of life and work-life balance pointers from real employees, trying to find candid answers.
Yeah, yeah, that
That's
makes a lot of
really
sense.
helpful.
Yeah, did you find that for some in your interview process they were just getting it over with or rushing through it as well? Um, or did you find overall like your interview experiences were pretty thorough?
I would say probably most of the interviews, definitely like big chunk of them were well organized. There was a schedule, there was a structure. Yeah, it didn't feel rushed. It was like specified amount of time, and we stuck to it.
Hmm. Hmm. I have to ask, did you actually experience any specific bias in your process because you're not from America or because you're from Slovakia um, that, you know, resonates with you even now when it comes to your own experiences, trying to find opportunities here?
Hmm. It's hard to pinpoint a specific evidence. Like this is the thing. It, as I said before, it was more of a feeling and the
Hmm.
way how the people act. Yeah, how they acted.
Hmm.
Yeah, if it was probably anything more serious, then that would be a problem for the company, right?
Right, right. Of course, of course. Um, you mentioned in our discussion prior to this something about a mental shift, right? As
Hmm.
whether it was a paradigm shift or a strategy or perhaps even an attitude. Could you describe what you meant by this and that and what made you at least more successful in your search and now in your current position?
Hmm. Well, I think this whole idea I'm going to talk about can be applied in life in general and definitely in work. So, as a kid, I was like, let's say, gifted for sports. Like, I had I was a quick learner, and like a lot of things came easy to me. So, I wasn't used to pursuing things very hard to go through many obstacles. So what the field showed me is like if you work on a problem and you can't really sort it out, and it was either in college with some homeworks or even when working, you over time you learn to love the process. And if you're dealing with some kind of error or some kind of bug, and over 2 or 3 hours or more time, you finally solve it and you get to another error. So that is something to be celebrated. Like I learned to enjoy the learning process and appreciate somehow like somewhat of failures or errors. Like whenever there's a new error or new failure, that means progress. Like you moved somewhere and you're dealing with a new thing, you're not stuck in place. So that was a big, yeah, that was a big mindset change, mindset
Hmm.
shift that helped in multiple fields of life.
Yeah, that's something I've heard a lot when it comes to uh, the accommodation of failure, and knowing that if you're going to get into this world, that will happen, and it's not that scary. In fact, it's part of the process, and there will be growth, there will be solutions that come with perseverance. What are some, to wrap up, this is my last question for you, what are some other recommendations you would have, not just for people who are seeking jobs in the tech sector, but specifically people who are from overseas, to prepare themselves for how American companies look for employees? Are there any particular tokens of wisdom or bits of knowledge that you would like to share?
Well, from my experience, the interview process here in the US is definitely different than how it is in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Companies here go for several rounds of interviews, up to five,
Mm-hmm.
which the last round is usually in person, and it's another set of 3 to 5 interviews. So just to be ready for a long process, and interviewing itself is a skill where you can learn a lot preparing. Like preparation for an interview can make it, or it can help you make it or break it, basically.
Okay.
So yeah, what I learned is just even the interviewers are still people, and they're just looking for, hopefully they're looking for another person to join their company and someone they would like to work alongside with. So being being cool, even if you don't know the solution, it's not a, I don't think it's a bad thing to admit that you don't know or ask for a pointer. Like if you just need a little hint and it'll help you solve it away, then why not? So just be open, communicate your thoughts, don't get too quiet and stuck in your mind when interviewing.
Mm-hmm.
That's more of a bad sign than asking for a hint, or trying to ask more clarifying questions.
That's pretty good. Yeah. And I'm pretty glib when it comes to how companies outside of America. I've never really worked officially outside of America before, but it's fascinating to see how, even with that difference, it does require a lot of patience. It does require a lot of vigilance, um, and of course, it sucks, but it must be acknowledged that people who are not Americans or have the right kind of presumed paperwork are treated differently. And the hope is to see a little bit through that and to think a little bit more about aptitude and skill, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
Igor, I want to thank you so much for being part of our show and sharing a lot of your personal experiences when it comes to seeking jobs, given your background. And I want to give you the opportunity to do what we like to do on our show, a shameless plug, which is you can share anything you like, whether it's the work you're doing at your company or maybe some other kind of work you're doing. The floor is yours. Go ahead.
Okay, so this is about to be something professional, work related, or
It can be. It can also be whatever you like.
can it be a message to people, or
It depends. Sure. What were you thinking?
mm, I would just try to give some smart quotes to people so they can think about it and get inspired.
Okay. Go ahead. Do you have a quote in mind?
So I feel like it's relatable in these times with all the COVID and polarized politics and everything happening in the world, is that everyone is fighting their own fight. So let's try to see the world through other people's eyes. And one nice thing is that we have a pair of ears and just one mouth. So we should use it accordingly, listen more than we talk, to actually try to understand the other person we're dealing with.
I feel like you have that on like a laminated card in your pocket somewhere, just in case. Like it's like, ooh, just
Pull
in
it out
case.
there.
If you need to know one thing about me, make sure that this is on my like tombstone or something. But that was very beautiful, and I appreciate the sympathy a lot, or the sentiment a lot, I should say. I think right now and always is a good time for empathy and a good time for understanding that we're all struggling, and it's important for us to heal and work together towards whatever goal. Igor Packo, thank you so much for being on our show. And I want to thank everybody who is listening or watching as well. Thank you so much for participating too. You can check out more of our content on YouTube or on our Podbean account or on most major applications for listening to podcasts. And finally, if you're interested in what we do at Educative, you can check us out at educative.io. So for all of us here at Educative, thank you so much and happy learning. Bye-bye now.
Thanks for having me, Lee. Bye, everyone.
Hope you enjoyed that. This episode is available on YouTube and also on many podcast platforms. If you'd like to be part of Educative Sessions, the form is open now to apply. You can also email me at lee@educative.io. Lastly, don't forget to like and comment this video and be sure to subscribe to our channel for more content. Thank you so much for watching and happy learning.